Welcome, everyone. This is Sharon. Today, my special guest is Kate Gribble. She is the CEO of Sundell Eye Associates and Northwoods Surgery Center in Virginia, Minnesota. She's been a client of ours for many years, and I have long admired her practice culture. Her practice has cultivated one of the top cultures I've ever encountered. The first time I worked with them and interacted with Kate and the staff, I immediately knew something was different about their practice. It was palpable. Kate and I discussed their organization's culture many times over the years and how it was nurtured and how they continually assess it and always seek to make it even better. I've had the privilege to be in on their morning huddles while I was there. I even asked her to make me an honorary employee. And I loved being a part of their practice. This is why I've asked Kate to join me today. She's a dynamic and compelling practice administrator. Organizational culture includes principles and values, determining how managers and employees perform their work for a company. It influences whether employees feel engaged and satisfied in their work or not. Benefits of a strong organizational culture include managers and employees sharing similar goals and agreeing on a plan to achieve them, and employees feeling comfortable about asking questions and expressing concerns to managers. Businesses that know how to build a strong company culture attract top-notch candidates. Company culture is the shared values, attitudes, behaviors, and standards that make up a work environment. It's about the experience people have at work and how their experience aligns with the external brand and messaging of the practice. Culture is what creates the day-to-day experience at a company. And when a practice has good company culture, employees are engaged, committed, and excited to come to work. And that stretches from brand new employees all the way up to the leadership team. And that's because in a healthy culture, there are clear expectations. Expectations around how work gets done, why the work is important, and how teams are expected to treat each other. There's also a sense of alignment between the company's vision and the core values and how those values and vision actually show up in the workplace. Core values are the foundational beliefs held by an individual or an organization. They're often the guiding perspective that forms how we or a company's employees behave around others. Some examples of core values can include togetherness, caring for people and the planet, cost consciousness, simplicity, and there's many, many more. There are a number of factors that contribute to culture. If a practice has a strong mission, it can influence company culture because it gives employees a shared sense of purpose. It can also lead to better success for the practice. According to a Harvard Business Review study, companies with a mission outperform companies without one. How a practice treats its team members plays a huge role in defining the company culture. For example, think about an organization which has a robust employee culture and recognition program. This practice is going to have a different culture than a practice where managers take credit for the employee's work. The decision-making norms within a practice can also influence workplace culture. For example, a practice that asks for and welcomes its employees' feedback when making decisions is going to differ from a company whose CEO makes all the decisions unilaterally and without regard to input from employees. Communication norms also factor into culture. Some companies have an open, friendly communication style that leads to a strong relationship. Others have more of a keep it yourself culture that limits non essential communications, like a tightly zipped up professional atmosphere. Think of a bank, for instance. Expectations around work style and volume are how organizations expect their employees to work, and this plays a major role in their culture. For example, is the atmosphere more laid back or more of a high performance culture? Do team members have flexibility in where and when they work? Is work life balance a core part of the work experience? Or are the employees expected to respond to work requests during nights and weekends? Your practice's onboarding process and training procedures can affect new employees' first impressions of your culture and their new work environment. Creating a dynamic and engaging orientation can help new employees acclimate to their surroundings and bond with coworkers right away. Some HR professionals recommend giving new hires small gifts or treats, walking them around personally and introducing them to everyone, or sending them a welcome video or a card before their first day of work. Providing a mentor to each employee provides the new member someone to show them the ropes and be their first friend at the office. Having a mentorship program emphasizes the interoperability of your practice. It communicates a team mindset. I would say that teamwork, working together towards a common goal rather than personal glory, is one of the most important factors in running a successful practice. Creating a culture of valuing the input and ideas of all employees can not only be pivotal to finding solutions to problems, but it empowers your team and tells them, you're not just a warm body here. We want to hear what you think. Innovation is the practical implementation of the ideas that result in the introduction or improvement of goods and services. Nothing is ever stagnant in business, so innovation is crucial to the continuing success of any organization. Core values should be at the part of every practice's culture. They're the foundational beliefs held by the practice and form how the practice's employees behave around others, and an effective policy reinforces and embeds the culture of trust, respect, and integrity. To achieve this, policy development should be broadened from conventional policies like compliance, risk mitigation, minimum standards, and consequences towards an approach that focuses on safety and well-being. A customer-oriented culture can encourage employees to collaborate more on projects that focus on providing patients with great customer service. This can foster an open culture and help to develop strong teams. Plans. This might be a market expansion, becoming innovative leaders in our industry, or standing out as a company that provides extraordinary customer service. Or it might be higher employee engagement and lower staff turnover. Whatever your specific objectives are, they must be clearly defined so that you know what success looks like. Then do the necessary steps to deliver that result. There always must be action behind plans, otherwise, they're just wishes. And lastly, adapt your strategies and tactics to accommodate change while staying true to your core values. You should be willing to adjust your plans according to changing circumstances and be open to learning from feedback and failures, using them to improve your processes and outcomes. Employees are not emotional islands. Rather, they continuously spread their moods and receive and are influenced by others' moods. When they work in groups, they literally can catch each other's emotions like viruses, a phenomenon known as emotional contagion. These effects become even more powerful in work groups where there's a greater work interdependence. Be consciously aware of your own mood. If it's not one that will be useful to your team, change it. To get in a more positive mood, take 1 minute and imagine a past situation in which you felt really positive, or a future situation that would make you very happy. Also, change your facial expression to the one you would have if you were happy, even if you don't feel it in that moment. Research consistently shows that your mood will follow your facial expressions. Use nonverbal behaviors to communicate your positive feelings. Most emotional communication occurs through body language, facial expressions, and tone, and only 10% is communicated through words. So pay attention to your body language as you communicate your emotions. For example, you may be crossing your arms because you're cold, but the people observing you may believe you're defensive or angry. And then most people will automatically cross their arms too and adopt the feeling that they think you have. Make direct eye contact with everyone on the team. Focus on spreading your positive emotional contagion to others on the team. Kate is really good at that, and wait till you hear her talk. You'll see what I mean. Team members are most likely to catch your emotions when they look directly at you. You can help them by doing that by initiating eye contact. But you also must neutralize negative team members. Being aware that emotional contagion exists can help inoculate you against negative team members. Talking to that negative person can help them realize how negatively they're being perceived or how their negative emotions are influencing the team. When team members are being intentionally negative, determining and discussing the source of the negativity can be helpful. And if these steps don't work, avoid sharing your gaze more than necessary in meetings with negative people. This will decrease the chance of you catching their negative emotions subconsciously. Create a positive emotional culture within the team. Emotional culture consists of the norms, values, and basic assumptions team members have about emotions which are acceptable to express and those that need to be suppressed in the team. Research has shown that more anger is expressed at work than happiness and joy. So be sure to create an environment where positive emotions are not only allowed, but encouraged. Make it clear that negative and destructive emotions and the behaviors that come with them, such as bullying, backstabbing, and such, won't be tolerated. This can help create an environment in which they're less likely to occur, take root, and spread. The first step to change your culture is knowing where your current culture stands. That is, what employees believe about your practice's current values. This allows you to get an idea of how much change is needed and enable accountability to track your culture change more precisely over time. Be sure that the culture change fits with your practice's business strategy and with the organization's structure, its formal systems and policies. Also, reconsider job descriptions, performance appraisals, reward or compensation structures, and training and development. Supporting change and innovation, both structurally and culturally, have been found to be critical to successfully changing culture. Change won't happen without meaningful involvement of many people throughout the practice. Participation can range from individually offering ideas to taking part in team meetings to design and build the new culture. Use a balanced approach, keeping in mind that input from a wide variety of people can generate excitement and motivation, but make sure you have a separate change structure in place, such as a change committee that can make timely and clear decisions to prevent an ambiguous vision or delay in important actions. Frequent, redundant, and copious communication, both upward and downward, is necessary during this change process. Use words and actions to convey the change. and repeat your message much more often than you think is necessary. Convey your vision to your team. Most leaders greatly underestimate how many repetitions it takes for a message to sink in. Model appropriate behaviors by demonstrating your constant commitment to the future culture and provide a vivid image of what it will look like and feel like. Leaders who clearly and visibly are dedicated to change is one of the key factors in successful culture change. Leadership effectiveness in times of change have been found to closely relate to the use of emotional intelligence. Employee emotions have a strong influence on how they approach change, and leaders need to be as analytical and strategic about their emotional messages. Pay attention to and read others' emotions to better predict how employees will respond to the changes. And most importantly, always model the change you're trying to create, both emotionally and cognitively. We're going to take a short commercial break, and I want to share with you about why are we putting on these webinars and sending newsletters out to most of you. It's because we want to be the ultimate resource for ophthalmic administrators. Right now, we are seeing practice administrators across the country struggling with staff retention, which is why we've been running our 5-part webinar series on the staff retention strategies. As an added measure, we're now offering free one-on-one staff retention strategy calls to discuss any current issues you're having and give you some immediate recommendations on how to solve them. And it's totally free. If you could benefit from a 15-minute call to discuss a major challenge with me, click on the link in the chat and schedule a time on our calendar. It's our goal to be the ultimate resource for administrators, and this is another way that we're trying to do that. Either way, you can find the link to our previous webinar in the series below. We'll be sending you those links after the meeting as well. If you haven't checked out our new website, I would love for you to. I'm very proud of it, and it's very dynamic and easy to navigate, so check it out, itouchtraining.com. Now we're going to go to a case study, and as I said, Sundell Eye Associates is, in my eyes, a wonderful case study, and I'd like to introduce Kate Gribble. Kate?
Thank you, Sharon. I am so excited to be here with you and with everyone on this webinar because this is something that has been so near and dear to our hearts at Sundell Eye Associates. And I'm thrilled to be part of this and share with you some of the ways that we took the excellent information Sharon just shared with you and applied it to our practice. So let me give you a little history on me. First of all, I'm happy to be here. My background is in business and economic development. I, for many years, did strategic planning, growth and development, marketing. And then about 12 years ago, I transitioned into healthcare. And I've worked in ophthalmology and the ambulatory surgery realm for those 12 years. So it's been a very exciting process. Looking at our practice, as Sharon has here, we were at a point where we were okay. We were nice enough. We had good outcomes. Everything was going okay. And when Dr. Sundell, the owner of the practice, and I evaluated that, we thought, we want to be more than that. We want to wow our patients. We want to have a place where our staff shows up and they're excited to be here. We want to have a practice that supports the community, that supports us. And so when we thought about that, we thought we have some work to do here. We're not exactly where we need to be. And that moment for a practice can be intimidating. Trying to figure out where to start. And so as we did that, we started at the very beginning. And so if we talk a little bit about defining what was important to us, we thought about it in a few ways. We know our patients are critical to us. That's a given. We're here to serve them. We're here to provide eye care. We know our team is important. We know our team is important. We know our community is important. And so as we did that, we thought, I'll show you on this next slide about our mission, our vision, and our core values. And Sharon talked a little bit about each of those pieces and how they interplay, and she gave some excellent information. But I wanted to show you what we came up with. So when you think about this for your practice, when you think about your mission, you want to define, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you doing what you're doing? The why piece comes in your vision statement. That's where you figure out your why and your how. And your core values really talk about, who are you? Who are you as a practice? What's important? What do you want your patients, your staff, your community to feel when they interact with you? What do you want to be known for? And so, as we thought of those, it's pieces we knew we couldn't create alone, because our staff are involved with everything we do, because they're critical in interacting. We knew that we had to create this with our team. And so it was a process. It takes time. And that's something I want to say. This whole process will take time. It will not happen overnight. But the good news is that it's much less intimidating that way, if you think of it as little by little steps and incremental things. So before we could even start to change the culture, we knew we had to define what we wanted it to be. And so, thinking of that, we determined our mission. We did that at staff meetings. We talked about it, gathered ideas, prioritized. The next thing we tackled was our vision. Why are we doing this? How are we going to accomplish it? And getting the buy-in from staff, they had such amazing ideas, such good feedback. It was really a great collaborative process, and it brought us closer together. It created an environment where they could throw ideas out. There was no silly suggestion. We're brainstorming. That part's fun, and it's easy to create safety with your team in those. And as you create safety in the fun things in your team, you're able to create that safe space down the road for some of the more difficult things that come along. But you have to lay the foundation and begin and stick with it. So as we go forward, I want to talk a little bit about how we did this. And there's really, on the next slide, you'll see probably 5 main steps that I can break this down into. Essentially, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, patience is important. Don't expect to come up with all of the answers. Don't expect for them to roll out, and don't expect for them to take place with any sort of immediacy. It does take time. And so over that time, you'll be able to think about the steps, tweak them with your team, and be intentional. So be in the mindset of planning and taking time. For us, this was not quick. We did this culture change over the course of years. I'm not talking days, I'm not talking weeks, I'm not talking months. This was something we built upon day after day, week after week, month after month. And it took probably 2 years, 3 years, and constant tweaking and attention. So the next, after patience, what we see there is step 2, intention. We found that for practices to be great, specifically ours, at what we do, we have to pay attention to it intentionally. So getting not only the leadership team in that mindset, but also the staff of what we pay attention to will get done. And so making it intentional to talk about these items, our mission, our vision, our values, making it intentional to talk about our expectations for customer service and what we've created there. It's all very important. And so, with the intention, one thing we found is that we want to tell everybody what we're doing, why we're doing it. It helps us stay focused on it. And it also holds us accountable for what we're doing. So we have our mission statement on the wall in every exam room. We have it at the front desk. We talk about it at every meeting. We talk about it at our morning huddles. We run our decision making through our mission, vision, values. Whether it's a big decision or a small decision, we think about that. We're like, is this in alignment with our mission, vision, values? And if it isn't, we don't need to worry about it and be doing that. Or do we need to tweak things in our mission, vision, and values because we realize this is important and we should incorporate it? So there's two sides to being aware of that piece of it. But the accountability part has been fun for us. So displaying that was a little bit scary because we're saying, hey, this is who we are. It's okay to check us if we're not doing the right thing. And it has been fun because our patients are reading that, they see that, they're waiting in the exam rooms. And the feedback that we're now hearing from our patients is they're telling the staff and the doctors, I love that mission statement. That's what I feel when I'm here. This is exactly what you do every day. And so that's confirmation to us that they're feeling it and that we're doing it. Um, Staff involvement. This piece I cannot tell you enough about. Having your team on board to be part of creating this not only gives you more ideas, but it also gives you the opportunity to have them be part of creating what your practice is. And where there's ownership, there's buy-in. Our staff was so good at giving honest feedback. We surveyed them. We tried a couple different ways. We surveyed them in a blind survey. We got a fair amount of constructive information and a fair amount of what seemed like complaining anonymously, although there were nuggets in there too. Then we tried a different approach down the line and we surveyed our staff with accountability because we're creating a safe place and a safe culture. And so we knew that there would be some intimidation to share open feedback with your name attached to the survey. So we started small. We asked easy questions, and then we acted on the feedback that the staff gave us. So the next time we did a survey with accountability where your name is attached to it, we could go a little deeper. We built that trust little by little, and we are thankful that our team bought into it and could give us feedback. From a leadership standpoint, it takes the ability to not be defensive, to evaluate, to think about your staff and why what they're saying might be important to them, when in the realm of strategic plans that we're dealing with in the back of our mind all day, every day, it may seem like a very small thing, but to them, it's a very big thing. So hearing that is important. Another thing that we had early on that surprised us is we got this great information from our team, lots of ideas, and we would implement so many things. And then on the next survey, feedback we would get was, well, you ask us these questions, but nothing ever happens. And we were a little flabbergasted by that. We thought, wow, we're doing so many of these options. But what we realized was we were not closing the loop. We weren't reporting back to the staff all the things we had done that they had requested or they had suggested or the wonderful ideas they had. So we made it a point at every staff meeting, every department meeting, every huddle to tell them even the tiniest of things that we did that they asked for. And that made a huge change in the culture. I mean, the little things. You don't like the blue cups at the water cooler because they fall out of the sleeve. Got it. We contacted the company. Here's new cups. They're white. They stay exactly where they need to be. Tiny, tiny things like that the staff is happy about. And we were able to build on those to bigger concepts. So reporting back to the team what we do, that's an important piece to not miss. We missed it early on and we fixed it, and it's gone a long way. Um, I want to talk about taking action. So, when you think about your mission statement, when you think about your culture and how you want to define it, what you want to do, what you want it to look like, the definition part is important because it keeps everyone on the same page. The more specifically you define it, the better. And we define everything. Sharon mentioned thinking about your policies and procedures, not just strictly from um, OSHA compliance standpoint or corporate compliance standpoint or HIPAA, but think about policies and procedures within your culture. So we've co-created things. We have a complete employee experience cycle, every single step of the way created by our employees for what they would have loved from the time they applied to the job, the communication, the interview, the site visit, onboarding, training, mentoring, professional development. What would that look like in a perfect world for an employee? And how can we define it, make a policy or procedure, and stick to it? The action piece comes from being able to follow those plans, policies, and procedures. So we've got them in place. We're all in the same boat, rowing in the same direction. And now we've got action behind it. So making sure we're doing the things, implementing all the things we're talking about, and our staff takes that huge cue from us as leaders. So being able to embrace this with excitement, with enthusiasm, and having our team catch that and that emotional contagion Sharon talked about is so important. Holding them accountable and talking about where are we falling off track with this? How is our employee experience cycle going? That's all part of continued progress and continued action. Last piece is refinement. Healthcare changes constantly. We all know that. We're all adapting. Society changes constantly. Why on earth would our policies also not have to change to adapt, right? So this process isn't final. Be expecting to have to tweak it, having to change, having to improve, maybe taking things out that were important at one point that just don't fit anymore. Redefine, tweak, make it pertinent to what you're doing right now. It's fun work. That's the other thing I want you to know about this. It is fun. It happens in little changes. It's hard work, but it's not difficult work. We didn't reinvent any wheels. We looked at practices in businesses who were doing what we wanted to do far better than we were currently doing it. We learned from them. We read books. We watched TED Talks. We consulted YouTube. There were so many ways for us to plug in to learn from what other people were doing that we could take those elements and apply it in what we do. So the resources are all there. You don't have to think of anything new if you don't want to. You can, and that's fantastic. But everything to change your culture changes are available at your fingertips. That's the fun part. Moving forward, I want to talk a little bit more about communication. This for us was so important. Sharon talked about this. In our practice, we cannot have enough of this. And while we're good at it, we always are trying to find ways to get better. So communication, it's an exchange of information. And information, Dr. Craig Pizzo talks about this a fair amount. Information is power. And so when you exchange power in the form of information, there's ways we can do that. We can do that in a healthy way where we take appropriate information. We know as leaders, we can't always share everything with the staff. It just won't be appropriate. But the information that is appropriate to share, And if we think of that as holding that information as power, when we give that to our team and to our staff, to our patients, when we deliver appropriate information, we're empowering them to know what's happening, to be on board with us, to work in the same direction. On the flip side, when we have appropriate information and we don't share it with our teammates, with our leaders, with our patients, we're taking that information in the form of power or being greedy. We're hoarding it. And the effect that that has is very disempowering. It's disempowering to our teams, disempowering to our patients, disempowering to our bosses and leaders. So we don't want to withhold critical pieces of information. We want to continually find ways to empower each other, not disempower. And communication is an excellent way to empower. So we focused on that. We have morning huddle for 5 minutes right at the beginning of the day. What's going on? Do we have any VIPs that are coming in? Are there any complicated patients? Maybe we have a veteran with PTSD and this patient likes the door open. So let's make sure whoever takes that patient back has the door open. There's lots of ways we can talk about these things and just set the tone for a day moving forward where we're all excited. We share a positive quote, maybe a piece of information. It's a positive time to get us on board and ready for the day. We do staff meetings. We have SharePoint, which is an intranet. So it's a website only our team can access. They have at their fingertips the calendar for the practice, so they know what's coming up. They have time off, so they know who's off in their department when. It helps them plan vacations. We have policies, procedures, forms, anything they need right there. And we also have department meetings where we split. We'll have a front office meeting or a leadership meeting. We'll have a technician meeting once a month. It's all been helpful, and I can't stress enough, over communicate rather than under. Share that information, share the appropriate amount of power with your team, and you'll feel the difference. They'll feel trusted. They'll become engaged. I do want to talk next a little bit more about emotional contagion, as that's what Sharon had touched on earlier. And this is something as leaders we should be so conscious of. There's two ways really that we can look at emotional contagion. There's the positive realm and the negative realm. We talk a lot about the positive realm and how we as leaders can come to the table excited, happy, empowering, with joy, and that spreads to our teams. That's important. They're watching us, they're looking at us, they're seeing if we're really walking the walk and talking the talk. So sharing that positivity is fantastic. The flip side, I want to talk about negative emotional contagion because that's a real thing as well. So as leaders, I like to think of us, and this is another thing that we had talked about with Dr. Craig Pizzo. We are the aquarium keepers. So if you think of our practice, the environment we show up in, where we swim all day, that's our aquarium. And if you have an aquarium, think of your culture as the environment in that aquarium. You want the water clean. You want the pH right. You want it to be filtered. You want it to be a place where the fish want to swim. We want our patients swimming in a healthy aquarium. We want our staff. We want to be in a healthy aquarium. So we are constantly responsible to check the environment, making sure the water is the right temperature, making sure that no one is contaminating the water. And if they are, we're filtering it, we're addressing it, we're clearing the environment. That helps with emotional contagion. That little bit of negativity spreads so quickly. And we want to keep that out of our aquarium. If we look forward, one other thing I would like to touch base on is employee recognition. Everyone works hard at our practice. We see a lot of patients. We do a lot of support for each other. We focus on customer service. It's fun. it's hard, it takes energy. And so part of what we can do to refill that tank for our staff is support them, encourage them, recognize them. There are a lot of ways we do that. We have little slips of paper that we have available for all of our patients and in all of our new patient gifts that are wow awards. And it basically just says, did any of our staff wow you today? Tell us about it. And they leave them either at the front desk or in one of the boxes available throughout the lobby. They mail them back to us sometimes. And those wow awards are fantastic. We can take those at morning huddle, at our staff meeting, read them, recognize the staff, give them a note that was handwritten by a patient saying how awesome that individual was. We write them for our team. If I see my team doing something awesome, I can write a wow award and give it to that person. And it's been fun because I see them posted at their desks, or, I'll see people tuck them in their pocket. They keep them with them. We talk about birthdays. We recognize lots of things. There are ways we can support the staff in terms of continuing education, paying for certifications, training materials, bringing an organization like iTech Training on site to augment their training, give them the skills they need, recognize them for completing that training and spending time and doing good things. We have them fill out a list of what their favorite things are. What kind of candles do you like? What's your favorite restaurants? What's an item that you love and cannot live without? And some of the things that they respond with, obviously, we aren't going to be able to buy them a Tesla, but there are little pieces of information and fun things that we found out. We found out one of our employees that we've worked with for years collects salt and pepper shakers. So it was really fun when she had a big life event to be able to buy her a kind of a fun salt and pepper shaker set related to that event. So just the little personal items make it real and make them feel connected to you because you see them, you know them. Looking at this, I wanted to show just a little bit of how we've implemented this co-creation. We've gone through books with our staff. We've gone through Secret Service, Be Our Guest. Later, there'll be a resource page you can take a peek at, and I believe Sharon will send that out to you. Many different books that we've gone through with our team, little by little, they learn. It isn't natural for many people to know how to do this. And so we have to teach ourselves and we have to teach our staff. And then they have the framework to be able to function in a realm where culture is the most important thing to us. And so we can then work together to create things. Two of the items that you see here are from John DeZulius's books. He wrote Secret Service, Customer Service Revolution, What's the Secret? So one example there is our always and never list. What are we going to commit to never doing? And what are we going to commit to every single time, every single action, always doing that will make a difference for our patients and for our team? The one you see on the right there is our customer service vision statement. What is it? What are the pillars that define it? And how do we do it? So those are up in our conference room where we meet for huddle every day. If they create it, they believe in it. It's the same thing for us as leaders. What we create, we have buy-in because it's part of us. It's part of our ideas. The last, we're almost coming to an end here. One of the last things I want to talk about is change breeding opportunity. Change is scary. Thinking about culture change it can be intimidating. It gets us out of our comfort zone. But one thing we found to be helpful is we address that. We put it in the light, talk about it with our staff and say, hey, here's what we want to do. This can be scary. It can be intimidating. Here's how we plan to not make it so. And let's hear your ideas on what would be helpful as we go through this together to make this easy for us. And we talk about how fear and excitement have very similar roots in our brain. And when we're feeling that fear of change, or fear of something, we're really conscious to flip that to excitement. We're excited about this. We don't know how this customer is going to react to this, but we're excited to see the positive effect it's going to have. And just that little shift helps us focus on the fact that while change is scary, that's the only way we improve. Change breeds opportunity. It gives us the chance to change, be dynamic, grow, improve. Without change, we're never getting any better. So that's critical. I want to share with you a couple of the resources. There's quite a few here, so I don't want to read them off, but these are just some books that the leadership team have read, some books that we've done with our staff. There are tons of video options out there. There's great courses presented by Ritz-Carlton. We've done that here. I know ASOA has done a section on it. Look at your resources. You're here plugged into iTech training. They have phenomenal resources for education, helping you further developing these things. Use your resources. That's critical. So as we talk about all of these wonderful things that Sharon has mentioned, some of the things I've shared with you, next, let's talk about what do we do with that information. So it's a lot. It's a lot to digest. It's a lot to start. I want you to know you can do this. This is attainable. We are a tiny practice in northern Minnesota. We're little. We have one MD, one OD, and we have a small team. But this, as a tiny practice, has different challenges than the challenges it had in a large practice with multiple locations. There's still challenges, but it's very attainable if we have the buy-in of our team and if we use our resources. So be sure you can do it. Next, and this step is critical, begin anywhere. Sometimes we don't know where to start, and so it prevents us from taking any action. And knowing that you can start with the smallest thing, think about it. Maybe if you leave this webinar, decide, hey, this is important to my practice, I want to try it. I challenge you, set a little step. Maybe it's as easy and small as I'm going to research books to start with my staff, and I'm going to do that by July 1st. So give yourself a time frame and a little step. And then once you've done that, set your next step and your time frame. Those little steps in a reasonable amount of time will take you exactly where you need to go. We can't jump up that ladder all at once. We need those little pieces to be able to get us where we need to go. And use your resources. When you're stuck, go back to your books. Talk to a practice who's doing what you want to do and they're doing it well. They'll help you. They'll give you their peaks and pitfalls. We talked to many practices when we wanted to do this. Talk to a business that when you walk in there, you're wowed. Figure out what they're doing. Observe. Call on your helpers. Bring in people who are doing this day in and day out. You've got Sharon and her staff at iTech training. There's ASOA. There's consultants that can help. Bring in helpers. We don't have to know how to do everything on our own. That's not realistic. So when we're stuck and we don't know what to do, use your resources and call on helpers. And number 4, in case you haven't heard this from me, begin anywhere. Take that first action step. Put it on there twice because it's that important. That's where you'll get value from the information Sharon shares. That's where your practice will grow. That's where you will start seeing development, not only in yourself as part of that team and as that leader, but you'll see the effect it has. You'll see your patients and they'll be happy. You'll see your vendors. They'll start to notice. People will say when they come into our practice, what is going on here? Why is everyone so nice? I see that people are helping each other. What's happening here? Sadly, it is unusual in the service aspect of today's society. So you start, they'll take note, And as that happens, it's a snowball effect. The team gets on board, they're more engaged, everything goes well. So that's our little story in a nutshell. I am excited to see what all of you can do with this.
Kate, thank you so much. I just feel to my heart all the things that you've said because we've known each other for probably 12 years now, and I've been to your practice a number of times, and I'm really grateful that you joined in today on the webinar. Thank you so much.